Isn't that from PBS? The More You Know.
I think so.
Reading Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
That's been stuck in my head.
Man, so 90s things.
Also, someone needs to redo or make more Wishbone, because I'd really like Wishbone for Kilrone, because that would be fun.
That would be fun.
Kilrone? I keep saying it wrong. How do you say it?
Kilrone.
Kilrone. Okay.
Like Kilrona, but just no Kilrone.
I don't know why this word is so hard for me.
We went over this already.
I know, but I'm still stuck.
I'm just kidding, kind of. Okay, so this time we're talking about Kilrone, which is a Louis L'Amour. Oh wow, we all have different covers. Oh no, you guys have the same one. That's cool. I thought he was kind of cute in mine.
He's supposed to be.
Yeah.
He's
like the hottest guy in the West.
Yeah. I'd say.
I'm a little confused because like my guy is like this Western person, right? But his haircut is from like the 70s.
Like Tom Selleck.
Yeah, he looks like he's got a little like thick curly mullet kind of thing going on.
Like the Dukes of Hazzard. Luke.
Like, yeah, Tom Selleck / Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. He's still cute.
I don't know when mine was published. I don't know if I have a newer edition, maybe. So this is a story about Kilrone. Shocking. I know. And he is this cowboy Western, but he used to be in the army, but he's not anymore. He's kind of on his own. He's a loner. And he goes to this town and warns them, the captain who's in town warns them that he thinks that, no, that's not how the story starts.
No, so there's like an attack on one of the troops, and he stumbles upon that attack and then rushes back to the fort to warn the fort.
Yes. And then the captain there, Frank Paddock, he knows from previous interactions, he has an idea of what the antagonist is going to do, whose name is Medicine Dog, his strategy, and he tells us to the captain, but the captain has a different theory. And so captain leaves, even though Kilrone thinks that it's a setup, and Kilrone stays to defend the fort.
With just women and a couple men.
Mm-hmm. I think there's like some children there as well.
Yeah. Paddock just like takes off and was going to get glory in battle and leaves the fort.
Yes.
To defend itself. But no one's coming back, he says, so it's fine.
So let's do spoilers. Let's just talk about it all.
So spoilers, Indians do want to take the fort, and Kilrone was right.
Mm-hmm. What's kind of frustrating too is that a lot of people under Captain Paddock's leadership kind of insinuated that to him and told him that they thought it might be a setup and that they should probably go back, but he just kept going forward until he found all of the troops massacred, and there's one survivor.
Yeah. And I mean, he basically wanted glory because he became an alcoholic in the middle of nowhere. He thinks his wife is still in love with Kilrone. He can't get over it, so he wants to like make some sort of glorious like movement to get recognition, because that's all that matters to him now. So he decides to do this reckless thing of like backing up the troops and killing Medicine Dog is what he thinks he's going to do.
But then, oh, go ahead, Liz.
So I was kind of confused because like the book goes on really well. Like I feel like it's a good pace, right? They're getting stuff set up. They're going to defend the fort or like the buildings really, because it's not like a fortified situation. And I feel like that's all going well. And the Native Americans show up and attack, right? And then all of a sudden it like almost ends. Does anyone else feel like the ending was just like super rushed? Like all of a sudden, like Paddock is back. And I was like, he was just gone. Like,
is it that he just scared them off? Like they saw him coming like with the horses and the cavalry and stuff, and then they just kind of stopped. And that was really sad. I was kind of confused too.
They were saying that like if the Indians thought they couldn't win, they would immediately just leave. And so wasting their resources. So I think the Native Americans like got there, saw the cavalry, because there were 2 troops. Well, yeah, there's still M Troop and K Troop were out, right?
Yeah.
And I Troop is gone. So they saw them all lined up and they're like, yeah, we don't want to mess with this. So then they just failed.
Yeah.
Which he's
like
there that
they thought it was going to be like an easy win, right? Like they just wanted to take the guns and run. They didn't want to like be in a drawn out battle.
Yeah. Basically.
But then there's another aspect of the story that we haven't touched on, which is Iron Dave, or Dave Sproul. Same person. Who also resides at the fort, or like travels through there a lot, does business there. And he kind of helped orchestrate this all by selling guns to Medicine Dog, and also had been in on the plans of like overthrowing this fort, and was going to raid / overtake an armory at the time that was carrying a lot of money. So Kilrone found this out, or he kind of pieced it together when he was holding down the fort, and then went and saved the day there too. Kilrone's kind of reminds me of Bruce Willis in Die Hard. Like he's just everywhere at once and like solving all the problems and is saving the day all over the place.
Like he almost gets shot on the roof. He falls, or he doesn't fall, but he stays on the first level. He can't get to the hospital. Horses run by, he just jumps on one, and then he goes to save the armed like wagon full of money, and ends up like battling with the soldiers that are protecting it.
Mm-hmm. And then he helps them out, and then he sneaks away to go find Dave, because he's just solving all the problems like most of the way. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "You guys got it from here. I've got another one." And they go, what are you? Mm-hmm. Also, I was good with all the book, right? Like I was really into the story. But the jumping onto a horse as a stampede runs by the building, but not jumping onto the top of the horse, okay? He jumps onto like the side of the horse, like out the window, like level with the horse, like that I couldn't get on board with.
Okay, the thing I couldn't get on board with was him and Betty, okay.
Yeah. Like, I guess the line that made you laugh.
So a few days ago, I said one line in this book made me laugh out loud, and so Liz now gets to guess what it was.
Did you want to guess, Andrea?
No.
No? Was it the line at the end when Kilrone is talking to Betty, and he's like, "Have you been to California?" She's like, "No, why?" And he's like, "Good place for a honeymoon."
Yes.
And then it's just like implied they get married.
Yeah. I am very I don't know what Louis L'Amour's romantic life was like, but I don't think he was a schmoozer. Like that was just blunt and straightforward and awkward and hilarious all at the same time.
Yeah, because they were there, like he met her like a week.
Yeah.
They haven't really talked. They've been in the middle of like a siege. Like
yeah, they're shooting everyone.
She did save his life.
Yeah, and that he thought that was impressive. He's like, "That's someone you should have kids with."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's how they picked him in the Old West."
So to be fair, in that diary I read from like 1880 or whatever, the girl in it would pretty much have like neighbor guys would come over, people she like knew in the neighborhood, right? They'd like come over one night and talk to her in her parents' living room and then ask her to marry them. So maybe it wasn't super unusual at the time.
Yeah.
It's so awkward.
Yeah.
Very different than today.
Yeah, I don't think it was that weird back then, but yeah.
Another line that I just thought was hilarious was when Kilrone, this is very mean of me to say, when Kilrone was staying with that guy, the guy tried to kill him. Kilrone's now sitting with him while he's dying, and he's like, "Yep, sorry, won't be long now." The guy who's dying like apologizes, and then it's like, "Yep, won't be long." Like, it's very just odd to talk about that.
Also, you know what I want to know? That dying guy, he said there wasn't anyone who wanted Kilrone to write a letter to, right? Mm-hmm. But then in his dying breath, he calls out this woman's name.
Yeah.
And I want to know what that was about. There was no closure.
he said that he had a squaw. Remember that part? And so Kilrone thought maybe that's who the name was. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really tell you if it was or not.
I need to know.
What'd you rate it, Liz?
So I keep rating things on a 5 scale. I give it an A. I really liked this story. And I liked the ending, even though we haven't talked about it. The Iron Dave ending was like sweet, poetic justice. And I really liked that. And it was a quick read. So, A.
Anne, what was yours?
I rated it a B+. It's not like some other books where I'm like just dying to figure out what happens, but it's super good action and I like Westerns, so I gave it a B+. I probably read it like 5 times too. I don't know, I was super into Westerns in high school.
This is your favorite Louis L'Amour book?
It's my favorite of this style. So he wrote Haunted Mesa, and that one, we did a review on that one. That one's like more current times, but all the other ones are kind of like this, where it's more Western, there's no cars or anything. So of like all the Western style ones, this one was my favorite, but Haunted Mesa is probably my favorite of his books overall.
Liz, how would you compare Haunted Mesa to Kilrone?
Like they're both well written, and I like the pace of their stories. Like you can tell they're written by the same person, right? Like it's not complicated language or like flowery descriptions, and it's a good action pace. But it is like set in a different time, and it's a different genre. Like Haunted Mesa is like sci-fi time travel, like hidden tribe type stuff. And Kilrone's like a really classic Western, like the good guy doing what's right even though it's hard and triumphing over the evil person. And I think those stories are fun because it's simple. Like the characters aren't like there's a good guy and a bad guy, right? It's not gray. And those are like make things easier. There's not as much
I like the old, like I like reading the Westerns because then you kind of feel like you're back in that time and things are just like so much easier. Where like some other books that are like fantasy, there's so much going on that I'm like trying to keep track of everything. This was not like hard to keep track of, and it was like you could kind of imagine like that. I don't know, I kind of think we have it easier now than they did, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's true. It is really easy to picture when you're going through it because you don't have to keep reminding yourself like, oh, this person's an ick roll. Like, wait, what is this like again? What is an ick roll?
Or like who has this power, or what does this mean? Or like there's so many characters as well in some series.
Yeah.
You really have to think like try to like remember exactly who's who. Or this like maybe 5 main characters, and I don't know. It's suspense. I like suspense better. I don't like when it's like boring and you're just like waiting for something to happen.
I agree. I did not write this book. I rated this book a solid B, which you might think is low for me, but it's not because this is a Western. This is the highest rating I've ever given a non-fantasy book, probably. My favorite Western I've ever read so far. I really liked his style of writing. It was like to the point, short, simple, but descriptive enough to where you could picture it in your mind. And I did think he described action scenes very well. Like it was kind of like watching an old Western, but reading it instead. And also very short overall. Like you could read this in a day. I'm sure Andrea did. It took me like a week. But it was engaging enough to where like you could finish a chapter and you kind of wanted to know what happened next. So I liked it. I liked the style of writing, and I thought it was an interesting story. One you've probably seen, but there are definitely aspects of this to that I didn't necessarily expect, like the Iron Dave. Like there are a lot of like little side things going on that made it unique, in my opinion.
Yeah, because he's also like, he dated Denise first.
Yes.
And then he stumbles into her, and like the general, her husband, still thinks that she's in love with Kilrone. She's not. She's in love with her husband. So she like pushes him to date or go with Betty. and pushes Betty to him, which I thought it was kind of interesting. But he was like, yeah, it was just like a fling in Paris. This lady. But yeah, there's like a little bit of romance going on, a little bit of action.
And there's like the whole like political corruption thing with Iron Dave too.
Yeah.
Like manipulating the system.
Yes. He's like sneaking guns out and selling them to the Indians, which I think is forbidden. It's against the law or something. And then so he's like sneaking around, and I don't know, does he own a bar or is it like a
I think
I think he owns like a bar / brothel is what I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of like a brothel or something, but
regular old Belle Watling.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely some good parts to it. I don't know. They're fun. I like fun short ones where I'm like, I need a break from all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Where I, like overthink everything. So it's nice to just get a quick read in.
So there's Kilrone. It's a Western by Louis L'Amour, super short read, 150 pages. You could do it in a small sitting and add another book to your year book list easily. Go read it.